Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nichole Eaton, and I am so freaking excited about today because I have with me guest starring on this podcast, one of my favorite humans of all time, the person that I credit to like the person that I am, and just somebody who has been so supportive and so awesome in my life. My former business partner, soul therapist and owner of Clarity by Christy. I have Christy Forsyth.
Yay! Hi! I'm smiling really big right now. You can't see me, obviously, but I'm smiling. That was really sweet.
I can feel it.
You can feel it. It's a big smile.
It's a great one. But I'm so excited because I've been wanting you on the podcast for a while, and Christy's just so busy.
I have been busy.
It's good, but Christy and I go way back, and so you might actually know us as the Clarity Girls from Elmira, New York.
Yeah, I mean that's how we got our start. Well, we started working together. You started as my intern, actually. I forgot about that.
So it's so funny too because Christy and I owned this kind of healing center in New York together, and she does that on her own now since I moved south. But one of the things most people don't know about our relationship is that she was my boss. Like that is how I had to apply to her. I had to go try to sweet talk her into letting me follow her around for months on end.
Yeah, she was an intern, but I loved her so much and the work that she was doing that like we created a job for her. And if you knew the agency that we worked for, that was like a huge deal to like come up with this money to create this job.
People were really mad about that.
Yeah, but I didn't care because I was like, I just need this person to be here with me.
So I love our story because I feel like one of the things that we both do now is incorporate so much soul work. And so if you have people in your life that you're like, this is soul family, and the way that we came together was just kind of bizarre, because we were both working as mental health practitioners at a not for profit. So we weren't necessarily doing this self-owned business, intuitive soul spiritual work. We started as just therapists.
Yeah, we were, changing the world in that way. We were helping people day in and day out, just meeting with them and doing that mental health work with them.
What do you feel like for you is the moment, like to go from a therapist to a soul therapist? Like, what is the moment that you knew something had to be different for you in how you were doing things and how you were helping?
I knew it really came to me through the discomfort to start. And, like when your soul wants you to make a change, it will start to make you uncomfortable. And I could feel that little bit of discomfort, but if you ignore that, it gets louder and louder and louder. So I just knew that there was something that I was needing or some changes that I was needing to make. And I was starting to look at different jobs and trying to figure that out, but I wasn't quite sure for a while what exactly that was.
I think it's really funny because just knowing you, and like when I first met you, you were very by the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like what made you such an incredible therapist and what made you such an incredible supervisor is that you were very like knew all the rules, followed them all, had very specific ways of doing
follower. Things. I was into it. I was into the rules.
Yes.
I was even on the rule making committee. True story.
You were? I forgot you were on. Yes.
I volunteered for it.
That's how much she loved rules.
You talk about me changing your life, but I was going through that really uncomfortable period, and then you came in and there was just this one conversation that we had where we were talking about opening to our spirituality and exploring different learning with that and some experiences you were having. And it was like I came bursting wide open, and I knew that nothing was going to be the same. I think I told you, like, my heart chakra, my heart felt funny for 2 days straight because it was such a strong energy, and I knew that nothing was going to be the same. I knew that that was like a life-changing moment for me, and that was like the beginning of leading the path where we started to talk about having a business together. And that was where I started to kind of learn that, maybe breaking the rules is sometimes fun.
It's most always fun in my opinion.
Definitely fun.
It's most
I
always
wear
fun.
a leather jacket all the time now. Like, I'm such a rule breaker.
You were like the epitome of a badass. I love it. But one of the things, like, so for those of you who don't know kind of the difference between what Christy and I do, Christy and I do a lot of the same things. We both help heal people. I really cracked my intuition up, and that's the conversation Christy was just referencing. Is I came to her and I was like, I'm knowing things about people before they're telling me, and I don't know what to do about that. But it's becoming a problem where I'm feeling like I'm channeling these sessions with people. They're feeling so great that they're paying to come back to thank me. And so we were both having these crazy spiritual experiences in an old school logic setting. And that was so wild because I remember like feeling like, I feel like that happens to you too. And you were like, thank God somebody's like saying this out loud.
Yeah, and it was the acknowledgement of that really, really opened me up. And it was wild. Like, I couldn't go back from that moment. Something in me shifted and changed. And, I wouldn't want to go back.
Well, and like now, Christy's, so I really incorporate a lot of heavy like brain manifestation, in a lot of more of that brain stuff with the intuition. And Christy's beautiful, beautiful gifts have really led her to she does these beautiful energy reports on Facebook, making sure you're following her, Christy Forsyth, on Facebook. I'll post all the links in the bio, but she does these energy reports where she channels the energy for the week, and she does readings and tarot, and she does all of this awesome, awesome kind of in a way, a deeper spiritual work than I do. And so, it's so funny though, because if somebody would have looked at you like 10 years ago, there's no way they would have been like, I know what she'll be doing in 10 years.
There's no way I would have known. I mean, I was always interested in that stuff. And had like my own experiences on and off through childhood where I kind of shut that off. But I would have never thought myself to be this person that would even have had the guts to start my own business. Or to venture out and to make videos. My God, like, public speaking was and still does stress me out. Like, I was stressed before we met for this. I just always get nervous. I would have never guessed that I would have a YouTube channel and be making videos and all of that stuff. It's so funny.
And it's so funny. So the first video that Christy and I ever made,
oh God,
and I have to talk about it because it's so important. The first video we ever made, pre-recorded, just me, her, and a camera. Like, it wasn't live. This was actually, I think, before Facebook Live was a common thing.
It definitely was.
And so we would do these videos to post on our YouTube channel. And we're talking about, I think, chakras and just understanding chakras. And she just gets up and just leaves in the middle of us filming. And I go to check on her, and she's like hyperventilating in the bathroom. She's like, I can't do this. And now she makes videos like several times a week live with nobody there.
Right.
But it's so funny because, like, what do you think helped you push through how uncomfortable it is to be called to do something that you're not fully ready to do? Like, what do you think are the things that allowed you to ease yourself into your calling?
I think that I've always had an understanding that I needed to push myself out of my comfort zone. And so even like with the speaking stuff, I kind of understood even when I was a kid, like, I'm not going to let this get me. This naturally makes me very scared, but I'm not going to let this get me. And I'm not going to let this be in charge of me. So I can remember consciously choosing in like second grade and then again in middle school to run for public office or school office, whatever you want to call that, so that I would have to give a speech. And that was the very reason, was to like force myself to do that. And every time I was terrified. And so like when we made that video, I basically had a panic attack and I had to go to the bathroom and calm down. But I knew even in that moment, nope, I'm not going to let this get to me. And you guys have to understand, I am like the least pretty crier ever. And my face will be splotchy for an hour after.
You had hives for like the whole rest of the night.
But I was like, like I connected, because part of my gift is to connect with the angels, and I connected with an angel in the bathroom, and it was basically like, you got to get back in there. You got to do this. And so I came back and I finished the video, splotchy face and all, shaking and terrified. And that's been what I have forced myself to do with everything through this whole process. Nichole was always so much better at just being spontaneous and taking this leap of faith from leaving the job that we had to stepping full time into our business. And she really inspired me. You really inspired me in so many ways to make that shift. But I've always just chosen to do it scared. I felt terrified, but I did it anyway, because my intuition, that little voice within me, was showing me, this is what you need to do. This is the next step. This is what you have to do. And so I've just learned to honor that and to do it scared.
Yeah, that's like such great advice. And it's so funny because as you were talking, I was thinking like, did I have that too growing up? And it's funny because like now that you mention it, I would always do things because I really wanted to do them. And then I would like look at the fact that I did it, and I wouldn't be scared, but I would look at the fact that I didn't and be like, oh wow, I really should have been. No, like I did a hip hop dance in my talent show in 11th grade by myself, and it wasn't even that good, but I did it to to the windows to the wall.
I'd like to see that video, please.
I mean, it was the clean version. It was the clean version, but I did it. I did a hip hop dance all by myself. So yeah, I think it's so funny because like I do have moments afterwards where I'm like, what the hell? Like, why would I do that? But I think for me, my intuition does override and my desire overrides my fear. And then I don't have time to think about it until later. And so I think it's really funny how opposite we are about how that works, because Christy's gift is also, if you caught my episode with Jaren Kenyon on human design, Christy is a projector. So one of the things that I'm not gifted at within my design is I like to speed ahead. And I'm like all in on some things that maybe I shouldn't always be all in on. And Christy's gift has really been teaching me how to slow down and to make sure all the pieces are in play before I do something. Or, just that is like part of the stuff you've had to overcome, but part of the things that you gift other people that I don't think you even realize you do it.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting to listen to you say that. You're right. But I never really thought about it that way. But we always our energies worked so well together, and always have. And that's because we just bring those different things. And I think that's an important piece of being successful too, is just like, in knowing who to surround yourself with, that they're going to bring out the best parts of you, and also help to foster the parts that you're not as connected to.
I think that's so important too, because I think a lot of times what we're drawn towards is people like us. And I think finding people who are similar but hold different energy or hold different intentions or ways of going about their life is so important, because it's really about learning from one another, but also having people who cheer you on, but know when to slow you down or know when to help you see different perspectives. And I think that's like one of the beautiful things about our friendship, is that I always felt super supported by you, and just really appreciated the ways that we work together and in the ways that we can mutually benefit each other.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. We've taught each other so much, although I still don't feel like I'm ever going to get to that place where I'm going to understand the vacation thing, the last minute vacation thing. That stresses me out to talk about it now.
So, I would always, so when I lived in New York, I would just be like, I'm going on vacation like tonight. And Christy would be like, well, when did you decide that? And I was like, this morning, I just felt like I should go somewhere. So I would literally get in my car, decide in the morning, and then get in my car that afternoon and just drive to Florida or drive wherever, or I would just constantly be going or gone. And that would stress her out because her personality is very plan oriented. That and my breakfast crimes, because I would always get a donut and a bagel.
I mean, come on.
Every meal deserves
It
a
just
dessert.
makes people uncomfortable.
But it's just like, it's so funny because it's crazy to me like how different people can be who really like soulfully belong together, and we're all here to teach each other different things like about each other and about ourselves. And I love that, and I will never stop taking ridiculous impulsive vacations. That'll forever be my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that about you. It's just not me, but I I do feel like you have inspired me to be much more spontaneous and definitely helped me to tap into like my go with the flow part of myself. Because I'm naturally built to be intuitive and to flow, but for so long I was ignoring that part of myself. And so it's really brought that out in me.
Like, what are some things that have changed for you since you started to really connect with your intuition? And like, what did that process even look like?
So, I mean, I feel like everything, right? And I think that this is a process that a lot of people experience as they're tapping into their intuition, because it's like there's the time before you were tapped into that, and then there's the time after. And it's two separate lives, because there's this progression that you follow, because when you're listening to your intuition, it is guiding you to follow your best life path. And so in my case, I was very much in a situation where there was a lot at that time in my life that wasn't aligning for me, which is exactly why I felt so uncomfortable and was starting to look around and say, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? What needs to be different? But your intuition will use that discomfort to try to redirect you. And so that led me to starting the business with you, and to expand and work on that. But it really didn't stop there. The more I was connecting to my intuition, the more that I was listening to my intuition, it was showing me all these different things that needed to either be different in my life, or how to make decisions for myself in my life. So that ultimately led me to also recognizing that my marriage and my relationship wasn't in alignment for me anymore. And so that led me down that path. And that was an interesting experience, because I was very much in this place of, I just started this business and I never expected to also be in a place where I am now preparing to be on my own, financially on my own, emotionally on my own. And that was really, really crazy. But sometimes your intuition will, again, I feel like your intuition likes to lead you out of your comfort zone. And I was just recognizing this isn't an alignment for me anymore. This just doesn't connect for me anymore. So that ultimately led me to be making changes with my relationship and with my home. And I've just kind of learned to let it lead everything that I do. My entire business is run from my intuition. I'll wake up in the morning and get an intuitive prompt like, this is what you're supposed to do today. And I just listen to it. I've kind of learned, I learned a long time ago to not ignore that, because if you ignore that, that's where you can have problems. And that's where that can be set up challenges for you. And not that, you don't have challenges when you're listening to your intuition, but you get to avoid a lot of stuff. So I just kind of follow that. And so I've built my entire business following the progression of that. In fact, that's how I started making videos by myself. I woke up one morning and it was like, you need to make a video by yourself today. And you were still with me at that time. And so I was like, well, no, I make videos with Nichole, because of course you should argue with your guides and angels, right? And they were very clear, like, nope, this is what you're going to do. And then I tried to give the excuse that I was busy, and nope, this is what you're going to do. And I just did it anyway, because I know enough to just listen and do it anyway. And I think it was a pretty shitty video. Can I say
Oh
shitty?
yeah,
Is that okay?
100%.
Okay. And but like it didn't matter, because I did it, and I took the action, and it has progressed into something that I now find I actually enjoy doing, and has helped me to connect with people all over the world, and help people all over the world, and it's helped my business to grow, and it's just been this incredible thing. And that's just one example of following those intuitive prompts, and it's just leading me every step of the way where I need to be going.
I think one of the big things that intuition does, and just starting that process of listening to your intuition and following those pulls, even when you really don't want to. And I think the thing about intuition is it never lets you settle. And so when you commonly, which a lot of people are in their lives, have gotten to a point where they hate their job, or they're not comfortable in their relationship, or not thriving in the relationship, or they're unhappy with their location, or whatever the case might be, that like society's expectation and normalcy of that is that you stay in the same job you get for, until retirement, and you hopefully work your way up to get enough of a raise to, be impactful in that scenario, even if you're miserable. And what intuition does in the process of learning to listen to your intuition is it forces you to find a better way, to find things that are more in line with you, to get into your own truth. And so I always think that's amazing to hear people's story about their spiritual awakening, or just their times in their life where they've really heard their intuition loud, because it's usually telling you to get the hell out of situations that aren't serving you. But like
100%.
what do you
I mean, God always has a bigger plan for us than we have for ourselves. And so like, yeah, I'm going to go with God's plan.
what do you feel like for people who are just starting to access their intuition, like, or hear that voice in the back of their head that's like, this isn't what I'm wanting, like, how do you encourage people or support people to learn to trust that voice, that I'm not just being crazy or having a midlife crisis or whatever else my brain is telling me right now?
I think it comes down to consistently coming back to listening to yourself. And for me, part of how I did that was by starting to meditate. But another way that I really connected more was through going for hikes, because that was just where I cleared my mind, and where it was quiet enough for me to hear myself, because we get so caught up and so busy in day-to-day life that we don't take that time to just listen to ourselves. And so notice what's coming through when it's quiet, when you're in the shower, when you're taking a walk, when you're doing yoga, when you're meditating, what's coming through, or what ideas are coming through when you're driving in your car by yourself, and just start to listen to that and to pay attention to that. And I find that the more that you do that, the more that you start to get a sense of what it feels like when you're getting an intuitive prompt. It has a different feeling than when we have a fear-based thought that's trying to tell us what to do. And so sometimes I really think that we need to just take time and listen and allow it to sort of marinate within us, because you're going to be shown the way. And a lot of times your intuition is going to keep nagging at you. Like I said, with work, it was like, it just kept getting louder and louder and louder, and it will. And, sometimes people choose to numb themselves in some way to ignore that voice. But the more that we can just be tuning in and listening and honoring, I think that's the first step. And then I'll be honest with you, there aren't a lot of choices that I've made based on intuition that I didn't feel scared to make, so I think that it's unrealistic to expect that, a lot of decisions that you're going to make for yourself in your life from your intuition are going to come from a place of like calm or complete and total
Right.
clarity, or that you're just going to feel totally excited about it. Sometimes, absolutely. But I think most of the time you're gonna feel scared because you're human, and like, to make especially big changes is scary. So again, it's like that doing it scared kind of thing as well. Like, I know this to the depths of my soul that this is what I need to do. I'm terrified, but I know. And honoring that knowing and choosing to operate from that place. It will never let you down if you listen to it and if you honor it. I promise you that.
I think it's so hard to like learn to trust that voice because one of my favorite things about doing work with people is sometimes if I pull up an intuitive knowing just through that, or man, I feel like this, this feels like part of your journey. 9 times out of 10 people say, oh my God, I was just thinking about that the other day. Or, 9 times out of 10, like with energetic readings or with intuition of me sharing that with somebody or you sharing that with somebody, I always feel like it's just validation for what you already felt inside of you, that you felt like a crazy idea or felt like a big, change or whatever the case might be. But I just don't believe that anybody has everybody has intuition. That's not special. Some people know how to use it differently than others or have a skill set within it. But I believe everybody is intuitive and everybody has that soul knowing that's guiding you at all times. So it's just the process of learning what you want to do with it. What are you going to do with it? And Christy's absolutely right. Like, trusting it doesn't always make it feel better. But I do find that the things that I follow work out for me.
I mean, like, think about when you decided that it was time for you to move. You were getting that big intuitive prompt. And, like, there was a lot that went into that, a lot of like preparation that went into that. There was a lot of transition that came with that for you. And obviously, like, you were leaving here. We had this business together. I mean, there was a lot of factors involved in that. And I imagine that had to have been pretty scary for you.
It's funny because I think the intuition is a first knowing, and a lot of times it is followed by fear. And so I remember I came down here, I found an apartment, and I was like, if this feels right, if it feels like a yes, I'm going to sign something today. And it was like, I literally just was visiting here. I didn't have, but this is my personality, but I was just visiting here. I've been here numerous times. Every time I left, it felt like I was leaving home. I was homesick for a place that I was visiting, every time that I would leave. So I remember signing that, and I remember coming back and then having to tell you that I was not going to be living in New York anymore. And I remember all of that fear. Like, I mean, I think I was shaking, and you knew exactly what I was going to say, but
yeah.
I was shaking when I went to tell you because intuition, when you're following it, does feel right in the moment. And I think the important thing is like writing it down or having it somewhere, or having somebody who loves you enough to remind you that you felt that way, that you felt strongly about it. Because there is, when you're following the action of intuition, it can be fucking scary. Like, it doesn't mean that that's an invincible wholehearted decision. Like, that was scary to tell you. I didn't know what was going to happen to my business. I didn't know what my life was going to look like, or if I'd get here and hate it. Like, there was so many things, but I knew what my soul was telling me. And if you get clear, all you can know is that there's a purpose once you get there,
100%. And you're right. It's that fear will come in a lot of times, like after that initial prompt. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. This is really scary. This is really major. But I really feel like you owe it to yourself.
So what is it like
through.
on the other end of that? So I made this big leap following my intuition, and then you were kind of left there. And so I'm, like, how do you handle somebody else following their intuition and honoring that and justifying that within your own experience?
Well, so, I mean, it helps to be in tune with your intuition, right? Because like, I knew and had known and had a sense of that for quite some time. So there was this mental preparation that was happening for me even prior to that, so I think that helped. And again, that's another way that your intuition can help and support you. But I'm not going to lie, when you left, I was really, really afraid. Is this a business? Is this something I can do on my own? Is this something that will still be successful without her here? And I remember just really doing a lot of praying and feeling very afraid about that. But when you left, it was, while it was very scary at first, there was something else that just opened up for me, right? So that was your intuitive path, but it was also my intuitive path, because there was this part of me that I needed to see, this part of me that could lead and could manage a business on my own, and could just do all of these things. And I got to kind of feel that and try that because of this change. And what's been incredible is I've just been letting my intuition guide me every step of the way. And like, business is better than it's ever been. I'm working with people from all over the place. And so, we started a local business, but it has expanded. And I would say 50% of the people that I'm working with don't even live locally. And so it's just expanded in so many ways. And it allowed me to tap into a confidence that I didn't know that I had. And, it pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it was like sink or swim. Right. And I decided to fly. And so it's been a really positive thing for
It's
me.
funny because I think it's scary when you're making a choice in your intuition and in your own alignment that does impact another person. And especially, and I see this a lot, especially with clients in relationships or business partnerships, that kind of thing, where there's another person who's very like reliant or dependent, or you've had this connection for a long time and it's just the way it's always been. And I hear a lot of people say, like, okay, well, I don't want to be hurtful for somebody because I'm being selfish on my own. But the thing that I love about this example was that when you have a soul connection with somebody and you have a partnership with somebody, when you follow your intuition, it allows it, you are playing the exact soul role that you signed up for that person to receive what they needed to receive out of this. So like the fact that I was able to make that jump for myself and make that leap to move to South Carolina allowed Christy to crack open her own confidence and just expand exponentially in her business and what she's doing. She just put out these Find Your Magic Oracle cards, which you can find on her website, discoveryourawakening.com. I'll put a link in that description as well. But she is just blossoming into who she's meant to be. And I wonder what, I believe that would have absolutely occurred for you if I would have stayed there. However, I just think that it allowed it to open up quicker, faster, and with more significance because of that change. So if you are somebody in your world and you are wanting to or feeling called to make a different choice, I encourage you to really allow that to not be, oh, I'm being selfish and I'm hurting somebody, but oh, I'm giving them whatever it is experience they need to crack open into their best self or their best, or find whatever else they're looking for. And we can both do that in an honoring way. It's funny because there was a lot of rumors going around about Christy and I when I decided to move, because a lot of people like had made posts or assumptions that we had a falling out, but that was obviously never the case. Like, we love each other so much, it's actually probably annoying to most other humans. But it was such like a love and respect thing because she knew for a long time that my soul was like craving to be somewhere else. And like that was something even when I was interning, I think I talked about how I wanted to move. So I mean, it was like a long time that it had built up within me of just, I needed sunshine and I was being called somewhere else, which is another reason why I was constantly traveling, I was being called somewhere else. And so I think that this is such a beautiful example of that, of just being intentional and being on purpose and being in alignment with yourself and how it can positively impact somebody else.
Absolutely. And, I think another takeaway from that is just how magical God, the universe, whatever you want to call that is, that that there was a time that we were meant to come together to bring out certain things with each other and to get certain things started. And then there was a time for us to head out in our own directions and focus on our own things. And, you know, it allowed for both of us in a way to blossom differently and to grow differently. And that's really beautiful. But we still also get to have this amazing friendship with each other. I mean, I miss you and I want you to live here, but we still get to have this amazing friendship together, you know, even all these miles away, and just really support each other in all the different ways that we're
even
growing.
Just growing on our own and coming back together to do some work together too, and just knowing when that timing is right to come back together to do work. And so it is a process of really honoring yourself and loving and respecting and honoring yourself enough to know that you honoring yourself honors other people.
And just kind of knowing that there's always a plan here, right? So I could have chosen to look at that and been a total mess over that. And, you know, angry at God for, you know, why is this happening to me? And, you know, we can do that when change comes in and we're not ready for it. But you know, I really am a huge believer in the fact that everything is being done for us. And it's a perfect example of that, as hard and as sad and as scary as that was, that like it was being done for me, for you. And that we're always being supported and guided and helped. And it's all for us.
Absolutely. I think that's the big thing too, that, you know, one of the things I've talked a lot about is that I didn't originally have faith in anything. I didn't grow up with religion. I didn't have any spiritual connection. So for me, like, this spiritual awakening has been significant. It came not because it was pushed on me or imposed on me. It came from within me out. And now there is nothing you could do that would convince me that the universe doesn't exist or that God doesn't exist. Like, there's not a thing anybody in this world would tell me that would make me believe anything other than that the universe is real and energy is real and intuition is real, because it's been so deeply proven to me at this point that I couldn't argue it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And those are like really my favorite moments, because a big part of the work that I do with people is in helping to connect them with their own intuition. I know that's a big part of what you do too, is like that. I think that that's a really important thing to do. But people will, when they start to connect with their intuition and they start to just honor that and they start to trust in the universe more and trust that, you know, they're being guided and supported, and they start to feel that there's this moment that people hit, and where they start to really understand, no matter how much they believed before, when they really start to connect with that concept, that there is something so much greater than them that is helping and supporting and guiding and loving them. And I love, like, that's my favorite thing in the work that I do, is I love when people get to that moment, because there is nothing more magical than that.
What was your
moment?
So
beautiful.
Like, what was the like moment or an experience that you had that was like, God or the universe is undeniable to me?
I feel like there's so many, right? Where it was just like, okay, like there's so much evidence here. Holy shit, the universe really does have my back, right? But I think probably for me, there was like this period of time when I was only working here in this business part-time, and I was still majority of my time working for the counseling agency. And I had made the decision to come here full time because I was getting all kinds of signs and synchronicities. And I just knew, like, my intuition just knew. And so I transitioned over to this. But the thing about following your faith and following your intuition is, like, sometimes it takes a little while for the evidence that things are going to be okay to show up. Right. And so that was what I was going through. And I was in a situation where I wasn't, I was a couple months behind on my house payment. And like, I got to a place where I got really scared, and I said, like, you know, I've got these people calling me and threatening to take my house away. I was starting to get to that point. And, you know, long story short, there were so many signs all throughout that day that things were going to be okay. But I said, listen, this is too scary for me. This is too much. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And I came back to the office and somebody had written trust on my marker board. And it turned out it was like this guy that we shared the office with. He just randomly felt called to do that day. That was like really cool and really magical. But again, I got frustrated with that. And I said, listen, like, I need you to show me the money. I need you to show me that this is going to be okay. And it was getting later in the day and I really didn't expect it. But I said, I need I need you to show me that this is going to be okay in a really concrete way. Or tomorrow I'm going to go out there and I'm going to need to start to look for another job because I need to take care of my family. And so I'm doing my sessions for the day, and I was doing sessions pretty late that night. And it was about like, I went into my last session and I'm thinking, like, okay, so I'm going to look for another job because no money showed up. And at the end of that session, the client says to me, listen, I really want to do some ongoing work with you. And the only way that I know to hold myself accountable is that I want to pay for several sessions up front with you. And so it worked out that the amount of the sessions that she wanted to pay for was the exact amount that I needed to cover those back house payments, like to the penny.
Wild.
And so like I tried to hold my tears in during that session because I was like, oh, holy shit. Right. And then when she left, I just sobbed. It's still hard to talk about it without crying because it was like such a powerful moment where I was like, oh my God, God, you and you've got my back, and I threatened you, and I'm really sorry about that, but thank you, and there was just such gratitude, and it was so magical, and I see stuff like that happen for people all the time, but you have to invite it in, and you have to ask for the help.
People underestimate getting a little sassy with the universe from time to time. I swear, like when I'm like really at a breaking point with something, like that is my go-to. I demand it because I do believe I'm being supported, and I do believe I'm being guided, and I'm not always open enough to fully see the big picture or why something's occurring. And so I'll say, I need you to show me. Like I can't keep doing things in the way that I'm doing them. And so I love a good sassy prayer of like, make it big.
Yeah. Although sometimes there will be like a delay. I have found that. Or there are times that I am very nicely reminded that like I need to surrender this and I need to stop trying to control it and I just need to trust. So you will get that too. But sometimes when you get sassy, you get what you ask for.
I actually had a podcast with Curtis Ray a couple podcasts ago, but he was talking about just even saying I'm ready, like declaring and demanding and just opening that energy up. And I love that too, of just opening that energy up of I'm ready, show me something, show me what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that's like one of my favorite go-to ways to kind of get out of my own head is to invite it to not just be in my head, invite it to be bigger than me, invite it to be a bigger plan than me, invite it to not have to look how I think it has to look. And I think that's so powerful, those moments where you just know you're not by yourself, you're not on your own. All the resources you have just aren't it, that you have, there's more coming, there's more that you don't even know about. I love that.
I love that too. And I sob like a baby every single time. Because it's just so powerful. It's so amazing to know that. And when you really know, you just feel so much more supported and so powerful and have an understanding that you are this powerful co-creator here in this world and you can do amazing things.
I love that. I love it. We are running low on time. Well, this was fun. I'm so glad. I want people to be able to connect with you. You can book a session with Christy. How can they best book a session?
Probably the best way is right on my website. I have a link right to my calendar there. It is at discoveryawakening.com.
And how can they follow you so they can get your energy reports? What does that look like?
Everything is on Instagram, on TikTok, which is new, by the way. I'm just joining TikTok. And on my Facebook page is all under @Christy Clarity.
Awesome.
So it's Christy, Clarity.
Perfect. So you're also going to want to make sure you pick up your Find Your Magic Oracle cards. They're on your website. Is that where they can order those?
Yep, they're on my website, right on the
and
store
they're
link.
so pretty and so cool, and you have to get a deck because they're awesome and they were made with so much intention and love, so they're going to be powerful. But I'm so grateful that you took time out of your day to connect with me, to do this podcast with me. Please make sure to go follow Christy, get a session with her. You will not want to miss out on that. And I hear she books pretty far out, so you're going to want to get in soon. And thanks, Christy.
Yeah, thank you. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicholeEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicholeEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.